Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this December 16, 2014, Great Falls Public Schools meeting of the Board of Trustees. Happy to have you here this afternoon. Mr. Patrick, would you please do the roll? Oh, before we do that, I want to remind us that due to state law, these meetings are recorded and will be uploaded on our website within about 2 weeks' time. So it's incumbent upon me to remind us all that these not only are being recorded audibly and visually. Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Patrick, the roll call.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Gordon Johnson.
Here.
Kim Skornagoski.
Excuse.
Bill Bronson.
Here.
Mark Finicum.
Here.
Marley Sunchild.
Here.
Amy Thompson.
Here.
And Paige Strosky. You have a quorum present, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Trustee Thompson, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Mr. Chair,
December 16. December 16 is Beethoven's birthday. It's also the birthday of another notable person in this room this evening. Wednesday. But you'll be gone Wednesday. So if we're going to do this properly, we have to do it this evening. So join me, please, in singing Happy Birthday to dear Amy. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Amy. Happy birthday to you.
thank you.
And doesn't it give you comfort and pride to know that that was recorded?
It really does.
All right, very good. Well, let's get on with our meeting.
Mr. Chair,
Trustee Tarosky.
we adopt the agenda as presented.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda. Are there any questions or comments from our Board of Trustees? Any questions or comments from our gallery? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of adopting the agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We have an agenda from which to work. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Bronson.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Are there any comments or questions from our trustees regarding the consent agenda? Any comments or comments from our gallery here this evening? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We've approved the consent agenda. We're moving on to communication, and we have student representatives here with us tonight. Mrs. Mainwaring, please.
Good evening, Chairman Johnson, members of the board, Superintendent Hoyer. It's my pleasure to introduce our student representatives for tonight, and we're going to go in the order of CMR, Paris, and then Great Falls High.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chairman Johnson, Superintendent Hoyer, members of our board, and members of our community. I'm Lillian Scare, a senior at CMR, and I'd like to get started with our December board report. First, happy holidays. At our first home basketball game for the boys on December 17th, we'll be celebrating the holidays. We're asking our fans to bring a new toy to donate and get into the game for free. All current and alumni staff members are also getting free. So put on your Christmas fuzzy pajamas and socks and join us while we cheer on our wrestlers and donate for Toys to Tots. I'd also like to mention that this week is HOSA Dress Up Week. So today we were in our Hawaiian Christmas. Tomorrow is the festive fuzzies pajamas. Wednesday is the North Pole, so like Santa, elves, snowmen. Thursday is Christmas colors. And then Friday is your Christmas sweaters and socks. Next, we have community service. CMR students and staff have been busy helping out with the food pantry. We also had represent CMR in the Polar Plunge fundraiser for Special Olympics. Even in these snowy conditions, our high school house students are still working hard building a home for a local Great Falls family. We are proud of all of our students that contribute to the community. Our first lesson we loved, we are doing book clubs in Mr. Comstock's AP English class. He put us in groups based on how we rated the book options given. Groups are reading Dune, The Handmaid's Tale, Extremely Loud and Incredibly Quiet, All the Light We Cannot See, and more. My group is reading All the Light We Cannot See, and I actually really like it. And I've been loving this lesson because I would have never reached for that book on my own, and now I enjoy it. And I also like that we get to discuss the book with people we don't normally sit with in class, so we get other people's perspectives. Each week we have a job like discussion director, passage procurer, purveyor of poetry. I don't know, they all have funny names, and minor roles. This has just been a really fun way to read and practice our literary skills, and tomorrow is our last one. Then on athletics, CMR Athletics is getting ready to dominate this winter. Our girls wrestling got their first dual win in CMR history, beating Glacier 2 weekends ago, and our wrestlers will be competing in the holiday this week at CMR. We had our first swim meet last weekend, and then we have another this Friday and Saturday. Boys and girls basketball both had a great start to the season. Our boys team beat both Glacier and Flathead, and our girls team beat Glacier and had a tough battle against Flathead. And they both play Missoula Hellgate this Tuesday. We are so proud of our football boys, with 17 being named all-conference or all-state. We've also had lots of signing this month. Canyon Baumiller and Aislinn Holden for soccer, Georgia Hatzenbeller for swimming, and Abby Carpenter and Alyssa Belk for volleyball.
Good evening, Chairman Johnson, Superintendent Hoyer, members of the board, and members of the community. I'm Lydia Comstock, and I will be continuing tonight's presentation. A lesson that we loved is in Ms. Gossen's Finance and Career Prep class, students ran a simulation modeling the debt acquired during college. They were faced with choices on what they wanted to spend their money on, such as new, used, or rented textbooks. They had to balance happiness, focus, and connections, and this is a great way to get insight into the future and practice fiscal responsibility. Next up, we have speech and debate. Speech and debate students have been working really hard. We had a meet in Conrad where we had several students make top 3 in their respective events, and 5 students earned first place. We had the biggest meet of the season in Helena last Saturday. We had 4 students that went to finals, and we had 2 that got first place, Bristol Miners in original oratory and myself in impromptu speaking. We also have students representing us on the radio last week, Tuesday, and we had a great meet in Great Falls this past weekend. Another lesson we loved. Members of the Air Force spent time in our business classes sharing a variety of business-related career opportunities in the military. From communications and cybersecurity to traffic and supply services, students learned the options that are endless. For BPA, we had 8 crazy BPA jumpers that raised over $500 for our very own Great Falls Lions Special Olympics team in the Polar Plunge. And one more lesson that we loved. In Spanish class, students practice Spanish numbers while playing a math game, and we love it when our teachers make learning fun.
Good evening, Chairman Johnson, Superintendent Hoyer, members of the board, and members of the community. I'm Emerson Hama, a junior at CMR, and I'd like to continue our presentation. Next up is performing arts. The Pirates of Penzance crew wrapped up their performances this weekend on Saturday, and they had 6 great performances in the last 2 weeks. Orchestra had their Christmas concert last week. Band is tonight, and then choir is tomorrow. Another lesson we loved, Mr. Greger's biology classes did a lab to practice using microscopes and to identify parts of a cell. Students were fascinated with the details they could see under the microscope and enjoyed taking pictures of their findings. Student government, The junior class has been busy planning MORP. It will be the last day before break, and the theme is Party on the Peaks. The class of 2025 just held a bake sale at the basketball tournament at CMR and raised close to $1,000 to put towards prom. We also sent over 20 student leaders to the Montana Association of Student Councils conference in Billings. They had a great time learning leadership skills and networking with student government students from around the state. Our final lesson we love, students in Mr. Nagengast's ceramics class have been busy sculpting either hands or faces. Students worked hard for weeks and are finally starting the process of firing and glazing their pieces. Everyone in the class is excited to see the final results of their hard work. And our wrestler pride for this meeting. Our teachers had a secret staff spirit week this month. We were a little baffled at first. Some students even said our teachers are gaslighting us, but they were just having a little wrestler fun. Monday was flannel day, Tuesday was hat day, Wednesday was gym wear day, Thursday was the same floor twin day, and Friday was their favorite college team day to celebrate Cat Grizz weekend. Our teachers are wrestler pride. And that's our presentation for this one.
Well, thank you very much.
Good evening, Chairman Johnson, Superintendent Hoyer, trustees, and members of the community. My name is Connor Reisinger. I am a senior from Paris Gibson Education Center. By the way, before we begin, I'd like to say sorry for the fact that I missed all previous board meetings up until now, and Mercury is not available tonight, so I will be presenting by myself. So allow me to present on some past events from the month. So April Sanger and Curtis Feldoy taught students the process and history of making traditional drums. Curtis taught cultural lessons with American Indian Studies, and Miss Sanger did some high tanning chemistry and science lessons. The students learned measurement and how to stretch hides. After the drums were dry, students added art with acrylic paint. Once they were finished, the students got to go to a blessing ceremony with Curtis, as well as learning the symbolism behind it as well. Next up was the Christmas stroll. As we all know, on the first Friday of every December, the Christmas stroll happens downtown. Some of our students like to contribute their art to sell to the community. This year, we were happy to say it was a really fun time and everyone made a great sale. Next was the bison harvest. So Larry Brown and Duke and Coburn hosted one of my favorite activities our school district has to offer, one of our many bison hunts. This one being our 23rd has something special attached. Our district didn't keep any of the bison this year, but instead, the Helena School District paid for the animal and went with us to the bison harvest. This was an attempt to get more urban schools to offer this part of neighbor culture to their students. Tomorrow, Duke and Coburn will be in Missoula to orchestrate their school district's first ever harvest. This was our infant and adult CPR training held by Miss Sanger and held in room 120. Many students looking to learn CPR or maybe earn some credit in health, child development, or science enrichment would show and learn a very valuable life-saving technique. They learn how to apply it to infants, children, and adults so that whenever it is needed, those students will be there to provide it. The head of science enrichment, Ms. Sanger, recently held a special class to celebrate the holidays in which we made our very own Christmas ornaments. This project requires math and pattern making to create a beautiful ornament. The process involved choosing a bulb, then choosing different colors of beads, and then applying them onto the ornament. Many students use this as an opportunity to present these gifts to family and friends, and also to be shown off at the Christmas stroll. We feel it is a great class for students for the holidays and will remain for years to come. Next up is our wellness days. So to celebrate the end of November and the coming Thanksgiving break, we held our now annual Paris Wellness Days on the 25th and 26th of November during the 4th and 5th periods of the day. We had many activities such as massages, sound therapy, the Wim Hof exercise, etc. It was a big success with much activity in the school among both advisors and students. So up next, we got some holiday happenings. First, it's our Spirit Week. From the week of December 16th to December 20th, we will be holding our Christmas Spirit Week. It will consist of 5 dress-up days, each day with a separate theme, such as a Grinch Day, where you wear all green, Baby It's Cold Outside Day, where you wear pajamas, etc. We feel this would be a great way for students to show their Christmas week, hence Spirit Week. Secret Santa scavenger hunt, Beginning last week and going through this week is our Secret Santa scavenger hunt. The way this works is that starting from the 11th and going until the 20th, each day a card will be hidden somewhere around the school, each by a different member of Student Voice. Then during either morning or afternoon advisement, they will announce the clue to find said card, and once found will be brought to advisor Miss Bessage, where she will give whoever found the card a mystery bag with a secret prize. This has proven to be very popular among the school, with students loving the thrill. And then finally, so these pictures, they actually come from the Cassiopeia poetry readings. Now that I've covered some activities, since this is my first meeting, my principal, Miss Jakes, would like me to recite one of my poems, which has had quite an impact on my school. Just because I'm autistic doesn't mean I'm mindless, brainless, or imbecilic. Doesn't mean I don't feel, perceive, or sense. It doesn't mean I don't care, cherish, or love. Just because I'm autistic doesn't mean I don't have a life or that I'm inanimate. Doesn't mean I don't want to work or that I'm useless. It doesn't mean I don't want love or to be loved. Just because I'm autistic doesn't mean I don't feel left out and excluded. Doesn't mean I don't feel like a ghost or a shadow. And doesn't mean I don't wish to be normal. But just because I'm autistic, why should I be normal? Why should I be like everyone else? Why can't I be hopeful for my future? Perhaps I am not so different after all. Thank you all for your time. It was great to present for you all.
Thank you very much for your report. And thank you for sharing your poem.
Good evening, Chairman Johnson, Superintendent Hoyer, trustees, and members of the community. My name is Seth Royer. I'm a junior at Great Falls High School, and I'm excited to start off our December presentation for you guys. First up, we have a lesson we learned. In Culinary 3-4, students learned how to make a Thanksgiving feast just before the break. They learned how to make all kinds of traditional dishes and pies. They spent a week preparing for this feast, and it was really yummy and a very important meal to learn how to cook for. I wish I took that class because lattice pies are impossible for me to make. Yeah. Another lesson we learned is in Mr. Sullivan's AP Biology class, students measured the effects of different light wavelengths on the rate of photosynthesis in spinach. This lab looked like a lot of fun, and projects like this make AP classes fulfilling experiences. Next is prom. Great Falls High School winter prom was a major success. This year, we limited the tickets to 450, and it was a much more enjoyable time for everybody. Promise. This is always a hit, and it's so fun for students to be able to get out and have fun with their friends. It was hosted at the Newberry on December 7th, and will be at the Newberry on the first Saturday of December next year, too. Another lesson we learned is that in Ms. Stubbs' finance class, students had to plan and budget a 3 to 4 day road trip. Some people went above and beyond and made trips going for over a week and all over the United States. This is a fun activity that taught us how to budget and plan ahead. And that's the meals I chose. A lot of it was McDonald's because I didn't feel like looking at a bunch of restaurant menus. Another lesson we learned is that Ms. Simpkins' AP US History students, along with people from our community, were able to go to a viewing of 2 episodes of The Story of Us, The Women Who Shaped America. This night was very entertaining and enlightening, while we learned more about specific instances of women breaking societal bounds and improving conditions here in Montana. And we also got extra credit for going there too, which was really nice. Another thing is the National Honor Society Book and Toy Drive. This year, people at Great Falls High had the opportunity to give back by donating books and toys in good condition to families in need. National Honor Society is putting this on, and they hope to see a lot of books and toys come in. They're thrilled to have the opportunity to give back to their community. I'll pass it off to Caitlin now.
Good evening, Chairman Johnson, Superintendent Hoyer, trustees, and members of the community. My name is Caitlin Fulbright, and I'm a sophomore at Great Falls High, and I will be continuing this presentation. Starting off with the lesson we learned, in Ms. Doldler's money management class, students used a site called Magic School to learn about AI and how it works. Kids used it to create songs and plays about identity theft. Great Falls High SUCO got into the holiday spirit by ringing bells at the Salvation Army. Sorry. They rang bells at Shields, Sam's Club, Super One, and North 40. Thank you to everyone who supported and donated. Great Falls High Student Council leadership also had the opportunity to collaborate with students around their state at Montana Association of Student Council in Billings. The students raised over $11,000 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Back in September, we got a word that a young boy at Sunnyside named Mateo needed some support. Mateo moved to Great Falls from North Chile. He spoke no English. His days at school early in the year consisted of him sitting at his desk and trying to understand what to do and the rest of the students and understand what the rest of the students were doing. His teacher, Miss Shahan, was concerned because even though she thought working hard to meet his needs, the languages barrier was too tough. Miss Shahan reached out to Great Falls High, and through some visiting with Great Falls High Spanish teacher Miss Sturgis, in steps Adrienne Meinzer. Adrienne is a senior at Great Falls High, and she's been a huge gift for Mateo, Miss Shahanna, and Sunnyside as a whole. This past week, Adriana was there to support Mateo at Sunnyside Holiday Celebration. This connection has been a big win for everyone involved. Mateo has been able to come out of his shell. Miss Shahan has been able to meet his needs and better. And Adriana is smiling knowing that she's using her skills to learn and help and make somebody's life better. And she's getting credit for doing it too. The Grizz and Cat food drive was yet again another success. If 1,000 pounds of food was collected, Mr. Hobble will get pied in the face at our next pep assembly, which I believe he is going to be. So, thank you. Good evening, Chairman Johnson, Superintendent Hoyer, trustees, and members of our community. My name is Brooklyn Griffin. I am a senior at Great Falls High School, and I'm excited to continue our December presentation. So to start off, we have our Great Falls High alumni bricks. Do you or somebody that you know graduate from Great Falls High School? If so, you should get a brick for Alumni Way. These make great Christmas presents. Leave your mark on Great Falls High School in the best way possible by being featured on our very own Alumni Way. Next, we have winter sports. Our winter sports have kicked off at Great Falls High School. Our basketball teams have already started playing games, and there is a home game tomorrow night at 7 o'clock in the field house. It's a boys' game. Our swimming team did exceptional, and both boys and girls took home first place at the last tournament they were at. Our wrestling team was just in Butte this last weekend, and they did really well as well. And it'll be a really fun season for all the sports, and it'll be a really good one to watch this year. Next up, we have Leadership High School. Leadership High students spent a day volunteering and learning about local human services. Through activities at shelters and educational workshops, they gained valuable insights and learned about the services Great Falls High has to offer. Leadership High School is a really great thing that our community puts on for students here in Great Falls High School. I was a part of it last year, and I learned a lot. So it's a super cool program that we have here in Great Falls. Next up, we have Night Without a Bed. Our amazing student council had the privilege of attending and supporting the Night Without a Bed event with Family Promise in Great Falls. We learned so much about the resources available for the homeless in our community and had a great time too. Together, we can make a difference. This is Bison Pride. Next, we have the All-American Disney Parade. Our All-Americans went to Orlando, Florida to be in Disney's Christmas Day Parade. They earned their titles of All-American at a camp that made them eligible for opportunities like this. Tune into the Disney special on Christmas Day, and you might just see a few Great Falls High girls on TV. Next, we have our upcoming art exhibition. Come check out the amazing talent of our students at the Norman T. Doll Gallery. This exhibition is open now through January 16th, 2025. Join us for the reception on December 19th at 3:15 p.m. Don't miss the chance to see the incredible works of our students. Next, we have speech and debate results. Our speech and debate team did so well at our home tournament this weekend. Breaking into semifinals were Noah Batten and Ella Patterson in humorous interpretation, Calissa Ward in informative speaking and memorized public address, and Delaney Lachenschlager in Lincoln Douglas debate. And taking first place and a gold medal in Lincoln Douglas debate was once again Isabella the Boss. Lastly, Follow our social medias run by our Student Council PR team to keep up with all things Great Falls High throughout the month. This week, you'll see some fun spirit weeks that we have going on. That's why I'm in a Christmas sweater. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Well, I know I speak on behalf of our Board of Trustees. We've been so much enjoying through the course of the fall and recently performances of Pirates, of Penzance at CMR and Guys and Dolls at Great Falls High School. I know you've been involved in a lot of wonderful athletic activities along the way, speech and debate. List goes on, and you guys are just incredible. And the concerts continue as well. And with that in mind, we've got two more things left on our communications, a report from Malmstrom and our superintendent's report. But I think, in respect of your time, we're going to excuse you now so you can go on and do those wonderful things that you do. So thank you so much for being here. And with that, Lisa Sapp, would you come up and please give us your Malmstrom report?
As always, it's always a tough act to follow those amazing students and try and talk about stuff after listening to all of that is, like I said, hard. But anyway, so good evening, Chairman Johnson, Superintendent Hoyer, members of the board, and guests. So tonight I am pleased to report out that 3 schools in Montana have been awarded the Purple Star School designation by the Montana Office of Public Instruction and by the Montana Military Interstate Children's Compact Commission, which is a mouthful. So we just call it the MIC3. For those who are unfamiliar, formed in 2006, the MIC3 has been adopted in all 50 states to address the educational challenges that military children encounter as they transition between member states and school districts. So Purple Star kind of goes in hand with that, and it's a national designation that recognizes schools and community members as being highly supportive of our nation's military children and families, and who have demonstrated their support through various educational initiatives and partnerships. So tonight, I'm pleased to announce that Riverview Elementary and Great Falls Public Schools received the Purple Star designation, and that was under Principal Nicole Heinzelman's guidance. Holy Spirit Catholic School renewed their Purple Star, and that's under Principal Melissa Hallahan. And then for those who are familiar with Joliet, Joliet Public Schools is down by Billings, and their superintendent is Clerk Beggar. So I haven't been down that way in a long time. It's a small district, but Purple Star is spreading across the state. And so it's nice to see Great Falls Public Schools up there once again. But I really want to talk to you tonight about our 2024 Purple Star champions. So starting off, Mr. Mark Yeager, he is the Great Falls Public Schools CTE Pathways Advisor. I'm sure many of you have met and know Mark. He's this year's Purple Star champion for all of the partnerships that he does with Malmstrom Air Force Base. Ms. Tara Murillo is the librarian over at Chief Joe Elementary, and she has spearheaded the military curriculum in Purple Star over at that school. And then Mr. Montana Johnson is currently the counselor over at Morningside Elementary. But previously, before this year, he was over at Loy, our 100% military school, supporting our families and students over there. So I'm able to announce this tonight because OPI has released the press release and notified all of our winners. And then I believe Superintendent Hoyer intends to include some of this in her newsletter. But she is an amazing detective. So if you ever need anybody to, find information or pictures on the internet, she was able to get me the skinny on Mark and his background. So I can't recommend her enough. And then she also got me some photos of our other Purple Star champions. So I was able to give a full bio for OPI's release. So I won't read the whole thing to you because it's quite lengthy. Some of the things that our winners this year have done, it would take forever to kind of go through. But we just want to, from my office and from our military families and students in the district, just thank these 3 individuals for their hard work and their dedication and support of our military families. So, and pending that's all I have for you tonight.
Well, that's big news. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
It's good to see everybody again.
Yeah, thank you. Good. Thank you, Lisa. And that brings us to Communication C, Superintendent's Report. Mrs. Hoyer. Cool. Thank you, Mrs. Hoyer. And I have received no requests to speak before this Board of Trustees this evening. So that moves us into action items. Action item A, 2023-24 financial statements and audit report. Mr. Patrick.
Yeah, I'd like to introduce Brian Stavanger from Ide Bailey. He'll come up and go through the audit information. And just for the community's recognition, the board had a work session earlier this evening from 4 o'clock till about 5 o'clock where went in great detail with the audit. And Brian's going to do a 30,000-foot level look at it. And this is our second year with Ide Bailey. And the audits were sent to the board members last week. And Ide Bailey has a great team of people that work and go thoroughly through all our financial information. We submit a lot of information to them, and for the community as well. The audit will be posted on our webpage after the review and approval tonight. So turn it over to you, Brian.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. From one Brian to another. Good to see everyone again, and thank you for having me. Brian Stavanger, a partner with Ide Bailey. And as Brian Patrick mentioned, I'll take you through a high-level summary of the audited financial statements. The full financial statements are getting close to 100 pages now, so we don't go page by page through that. Instead, go through this summary. And as you mentioned, we went through in a lot of detail and a lot of good discussion at that work session. So this will be a fairly quick report, but I'll try to pause periodically if there's any questions or comments. So at a high level, I think we've got an introduction page. We can go through that. We can get to the results and findings. So there's a variety of standards that we have to follow as auditors. Those are listed there really in bullet points 1 and 3. And then in the middle is kind of what we are tasked to do, which is go through our audit procedures and obtain that reasonable assurance to be able to assess that your financial statements are materially accurate. So those are our objectives. And the next slide will give the results. There's a lot of words on there. There are a lot of important words. At a high level, your financial statement audit, you received a clean, unmodified opinion, really means that you're following all the right accounting rules. Everything's fairly stated and accurate. And all the disclosures that make up a vast majority of that 100-page full audit report are accurate as required. As we go through the audit, we also, in alignment with that, do an audit of your federal funds, which is on the next slide. So in fiscal year 24, so that's July 1, 23 to June 30, 24, expended just over $25 million in federal awards. That triggers a separate audit, a very compliance-heavy audit. We do that in conjunction with the regular audit. There's 3 different programs that we looked at. That's in that third bullet there. Child Nutrition and Education Stabilization Fund, or ESSER funds, received an unmodified opinion. And then because of a finding we found in the impact aid program, we had to qualify that opinion, and I'll go through that finding on the next page. But overall, for the most part, good opinions and good results in that federal audit. The next slide will list out the findings. So you can have that clean, unmodified opinion and still potentially have some findings. On this slide, you can see it in 3 different areas. And as mentioned previously, we spent a lot of good time discussing these in detail. So I'm not really going to do that in this meeting unless anyone has questions. But the first 4 are focused on the financial statements and what I would call kind of the normal audit. And then there's the middle one related to the federal awards. And that was the reason for that impact aid qualified opinion. Just not able to use federal grant funds to pay any IRS penalties or interest. Thankfully, specific to that situation, that was all reimbursed in full by the IRS because they had assessed these penalties in error. And so the district worked with some attorneys to work through that and ultimately got it all reimbursed. And then we also have to do a bunch of legal compliance that the state of Montana requires us to do. We did find one small item that did not have adequate support. So overall, those are the findings. I'll pause before we start getting into the numbers, see if anyone's got questions or added comments. Okay, let's look at some numbers. Cash and investments in this graph really takes all the cash and investments across the entire district, all funds, all activities. You can see for the first 4 years of this graph, nice stable cash positions and then good growth in the last 2 years. Really a representation of kind of planning for the future, tucking some money away. So there is some intent on some of these funds and really was expected to grow this cash and investment balance. As we go now, we'll look at just the general fund, the main operating fund of the district, which really is a combination of both elementary and high school. For audit purposes, we get to add those together. This is a representation of the budget to actual. So looking at what did you budget for revenues, expenses, how did that come in compared to your actual results? On a nearly $80 million budget, you can see on both the revenues and expenses within 3-4%. I mentioned at the work session that, and those are actually probably better than represented here because of a required fairly significant just accounting entry that inflates revenues, inflates expenditures. It's pension related. State requires it. We get it in there. You don't budget for it. I don't think you should budget for it because you aren't going to know what that number is going to be. So if we took those out, you're really within 1 to 2%. So a tremendous job. Utilize some of that surplus to transfer to the Impact Aid Fund, or maybe that was interlocal. I'm sorry, interlocal. Really kind of set some funds aside for future, which was kind of represented on that cash graph. So a very good job there. We'll continue. The end result of the general funds position at the end of fiscal year 24 was a slight decrease, but very close to where you were at the beginning of the year. And that's called your fund balance, really your reserves that you can utilize going forward. So we're going to look at what those are on the next few slides. Let's get to the one that actually has a graph right there. So there's the total dollar amounts broken down between a variety of categories, but for the most part, a slight dip in 2020, which everyone I think here knows what occurred in that year, what began in that year, and otherwise been fairly consistent on the fund balances. So that's just a straight dollar amount. A good way to analyze that is to say, how is that compared to your budget? So take that and flip it into a percentage. What is that as a percentage of your budget? On the next slide, it'll list out what your internal policy is which you are hoping to maintain 10%. And then there's a national organization that has a recommendation of no less than 2 months, although that is not specific to school districts. That includes cities, counties, other local governments that have a lot larger fund balance. So 10% I think is very normal in your size district. So we'll now look at the next page, which is kind of where are you at historically as well as at the end of fiscal year 24. Kind of going back to 2020, a pretty unique year in probably all of our lifetimes. Outside of that, you were at or slightly above that 10%. So with everything that's been going on, especially since 2020, very consistent and really continuing to meet your goal from a fund balance standpoint. And that's it. That was much quicker than our 4 o'clock work session. Any questions?
Any questions or comments for either Brian? Trustee Finicum.
All of the work that happens internally and through the audit team is great. So Brian, please pass along to your team our thank you, and Brian, pass along to your team our thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
By all means, thank you for that. Any other questions? Thank you very much for being here with us.
Yes, you're very welcome. Thank
The
you. for
session
having
at
me.
4 o'clock was very illuminating.
Good.
And this presentation as
everyone.
well. Thank you. So that brings us to a recommendation. Trustee Turowski.
I move that we approve the general purpose financial statements with auditor's report for fiscal year ending in June 30th, 2024 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the general purpose financial statements with auditor report for fiscal year ended June 30, 2024 as presented. Any questions or comments from this panel of trustees? Any questions or comments from our gallery? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you very much. Action item B, unemployment insurance coverage, multi-district participation agreement. Mr. Patrick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. What you have before you is the unemployment insurance coverage multi-district agreement. It's also known as the Montana Schools Unemployment Insurance Program, or MSUIP. They have an annual meeting every year at MSAL, a breakfast, and I know that some of our trustees attended that. It's really good. And what it is a 3-year agreement. It's a multi-district agreement with all the schools in the state that participate. and it really boils down to unemployment insurance coverage. They provide loss control programs, help us meet the state requirements, and there's a cap. One of the advantages is there's a capped liability with the pool. One district, if they try to do it on their own, could end up in serious trouble. And the beauty of it is there's financial predictability and stability. And just for your information, it's a multi-district agreement. But if for whatever reason we'd want to pull out, we'd have to give 60 days notice and be able to get out of it. So this is a 3-year agreement. My recommendation is to approve it as presented.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Trustee Finicum?
I would move that we approve the Montana Schools Unemployment Insurance Program Multi-District Participation Agreement as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the Montana Schools Unemployment Insurance Program Multi-District Participation Agreement. Any questions or comments from our trustees? Questions or comments from our gallery? Hearing, seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Action item C, location of Great Falls Education Association collective bargaining. Mr. Deacons.
Good evening, Chairman Johnson, members of the board, and Superintendent Hoyer. Today I'm here before you for a couple different issues. We'll get started with the location of bargaining. This will be a bargaining year for our Great Falls Education Association, and previous years we've used district sites as allocated to MCA. The one previous to this, we were requested to do bargaining at an off-building site. So we went through the process, so we kind of know how this works now. Again, they've asked if we could possibly go off-site. So according to MCA, in order to do that, because of Montana open meeting laws, we do have to go through the process with the board. It does have to be a unanimous vote as well. Therefore, when bargaining opens, it can open anytime between January 1st and March 1st, I think it is, isn't it? Somewhere in there. We just want to be prepared so we can get set up and be as efficient as possible and not having to wait in that process. Therefore, I am going to recommend that the district board approve the use of Great Falls Education Association's building located at 511 13th Avenue South, Great Falls, Montana, for the purpose of meeting to bargain a successor agreement with the Great Falls Education Association.
Mr. Chair,
Trustee Turoski.
I move that we approve the use of the Great Falls Education Association's building located at 511 13th Avenue South, Great Falls, Montana, for the purpose of meeting to bargain a successor agreement with the Great Falls Education Association.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve the use of the Great Falls Education
Second.
Association. Oh, did I not hear a second?
No, but now you did.
No, I did. To approve the use, it's been moved and seconded to approve the use of the Great Falls Education Association building for the purpose of negotiations. So, with that being said, are there any questions, comments? Mr. Finicum.
I have a question, Tom. Is there room in the building for all the people to meet, what have you?
They have a conference room. It works really well. We pretty much fill it up, but it's plenty of room that you can be close enough to have a quaint conversation.
Good. Any further questions from our trustees? Any questions from the gallery? No? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Unanimously, which is what you requested, yes. Action item D, non-renewal, temporary, non-tenured teachers with positions expiring June 6, 2025. Mr. Deacons.
So Chairman Johnson, since you said that, I don't have to try to get that mouthful out of my mouth, but we are approaching quickly the hiring time of the school year. Anytime that we are approaching that time of hiring new employees, teachers, within our group, we have to look at those individuals that were hired right at the beginning of the school year or during the school year, or because of funding purposes, they are what we call a temporary employee or a 1 year only employee. We have to go through the list. You'll see that attached to the back. And the ones that are on here are all non-tenured. The reason for that is if you're a tenured teacher and you're in a 1 year only position, we do have to find a position for them the following year. So what we have to do is the ones that are non-tenured, we will have to release. However, no, starting in January, we'll have in-district transfers. Majority of these people will probably be hired back quite quickly. However, some of them that have funding or something like that attached to it do take a little bit longer in that process. Reasons they can be on this list is their position was held for less than a full year. Position was in lieu of a tenured teacher on leave. Position was filled after August cutoff date for a permanent position. The position was funded for a 1 year only position, or need to place tenured teachers because of enrollment shifts or classes and course changes and assignments and transfers as well. Therefore, I'm going to recommend that the district board non-renew the teachers listed as they are in temporary positions that expire June 6, 2025.
Thank you for that explanation. Very useful.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Fiddicombe.
I would move that we approve the non-renew the teachers list, and as they are in a temporary position that expires June 6th of 25, that list as presented to us.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the non-renewal of teachers listed as they are temporary positions that expire June 6, 2025. Any questions or comments from our trustees? Any questions or comments from our gallery? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call for the question.
One question before you go to or one comment really quick.
Yes.
Just know that I will be back in front of the board after the first of the year because I do believe we have 3 teachers that will start either later this week or after the first of the year. So we'll have to do the same process with those individuals. I don't think it's quite right to release them before they actually start their teaching. So we push that off until they're in the
Makes
class.
sense. Makes sense. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
With that being said, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Deacons.
Thank you.
Action item E, acceptance of low bid for 16-foot lawnmower. Mr. Patrick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Earlier this year, the board approved going out for bid for a 16-foot lawnmower. We received 2 bids, one from Midland Equipment and one from RMT Equipment out of Utah. The Midland Equipment is out of Billings. And you can see by your board packet that the low bid was the $115,595. Brent Cutler's gone through all the specs to make sure it met what we had submitted that we wanted for bid. And the low bid, surprisingly, also has a direct drive, which means it doesn't have any belts. And the grounds crew likes that part of it. So my recommendation tonight is to approve the low bidder for the 16-foot lawnmower, which is RMT Equipment for $115,595.
Thank you. Trustee Tarosky. Been moved and seconded to approve the acceptance of the low bid for the RMT from RMT Equipment for the purchase of a 16-foot lawnmower. Any questions or comments from our Board of Trustees? Anybody out there with lawn mowing experience that wants to weigh in on this? There you go. All right. All right. Very good. So, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Approve, same sign. We've got ourselves a lawnmower. Thank you very much. Action item F, second reading of deleted and new revised board policies. Mrs. Hoyer. Trustee Tarosky.
Move that we approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve new, deleted, and revised board policies as listed by Trustee Tarosky. Any questions or comments from our Board of Trustees? Any questions or comments from our gallery? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries with an enormous amount of thanks for those who have revised and looked over these and read these policies. Incredible. Thank you very much. Nothing was pulled from the consent agenda that enables us to go to reports, discussion, and policies. A, astronomy pilot proposal for fall 2025. Mrs. Mainwaring.
Good evening again, Chairman Johnson, Superintendent Hoyer, members of the board, members of the community. Becky Frisbee, our curriculum coordinator for secondary schools, is going to give us a report on a exciting pilot opportunity at one of our schools.
Welcome, Becky.
Hello. Oh, Chairman Johnson, Superintendent Hoyer, board, community. I'd like to talk to you about another pilot. This one's in astronomy class. Students take Earth and space science as a ninth grader. One small portion of it is astronomy. They do quite a bit. You have to squeeze, a lot into a year. And one of the requests they heard all the time is the students talk about they wish they could do more. They wish they could do more. So Kramer Cowett at CMR has written a pilot for next fall. It'll be a year-long class. And the study, of course, will be astronomy. They can either take this, well, they'll take it as a sophomore or higher. They can either take it with Bio 1, 2, or after. So they would have taken Earth and Space, then Bio 1, 2, and then their third year would be astronomy. Of course, if they take it with Bio 1, 2, they would also be encouraged to take still a third year. So the possibility of including more science classes. There are lots of students out there that want more than just 3 or 4 years. So this would give them the opportunity, if they can do a co-requisite, then they would actually be able to squeak in 5 science classes. Some of the things that are really nice about this from a financial standpoint is this is an OpenStax textbook that is at a appropriate reading level for those students. And this would reduce those fees. Probably the most expensive fee in most courses is the book. They have already had the offer of some equipment for this course. They've had offers of donations, so they'll be looking at those. It's a unique course. It's not in an area that we have covered in the past. So it's that opportunity to give students just a different look. And I loved his quote. He says, "This is a unique course in the last frontier, and it's our future of space exploration. And knowing what is in our universe and understanding it is going to be important in the future of these students." So I thought it was a great opportunity to bring forth to them. We will follow the same pilot policies and procedures we've put into place over the last couple years. So this course will not go into effect until the 25-26 school year. Students will have the opportunity to start registering for this in February. Then in the spring of 2026, we will meet with administrators and the instructors. We will have surveyed the students and their parents and the instructors as to how they felt about the course, and then we'll determine if they want to continue it. At this point, they feel like it would be jeopardizing both geology and astronomy to offer both. So for that school year, the 25-26 school year, they won't offer geology, they'll offer astronomy in its place. Questions?
So do you know what the numbers for the geology class has been?
They've only had one section, and it has not been a full section, so I think it varies year to year, but it hasn't been, they haven't rejected students because of not enough seats.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Chairman. Trustee Bronson.
Ms. Frisbee, I was just going to say I applaud the district for taking on this possibility. And years ago, you used to get a little bit of astronomy and astrophysics as part of physics courses, but it was never enough to really dive into the full realm of what you can do in that field. And I took it at the time, and I wish that there had been more of an opportunity because, it's a I don't think it's just a growing field now. I think there's been that interest in it for a long time, but now we're at the point, in world history where it's probably far more important. I just think it's great that we're extending that opportunity, and again, we'll see what the interest level is, but I hope there's a lot in it. So thank you.
Trustee Finicum.
This really sounds intriguing. Question is, what kind of monies up front does the district need to pony up to make this class happen? Equipment, anything?
One of the stipulations of a pilot is that I can't, by board policy, buy them books. So he did a great job. He came to us with the OpenStax book, and I asked a little bit about equipment, and they have enough in their typical department fund, as well as some of the donations that they'd already been offered prior. That might have spurred on their ideas, but they'd had some donation offers, so they're going to pursue some of those at this point.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, again, Mr. Chairman, there are people in this community that are very interested in astronomy, and I can see those people as the ones wanting to donate it. They want to build a coterie of other folks that are interested in this, so it's good.
Any additional questions for Ms. Frisbee? If not, thank you very much for that report. Thank you.
Sure.
Report B, 2324, Advanced Placement and Dual Credit Report, Mrs. Mainwaring.
So Mrs. Frisbee's not going to go far.
Oh,
We're gonna have
really?
her
She's coming
come
right back?
up to the
Okay.
microphone and give you a report on our AP and dual credit for the last school year.
Excellent. Thank you.
So just want to give you a brief rundown on AP and dual credit. I'm going to remind you the last time I gave this report, it was 30 minutes. You got 30 minutes? Go ahead and next slide. We have quite a few dual enrollment classes in the Great Falls Public Schools. So here is the list of current. Some of the things I just want to point out, cybersecurity, the top of that middle column, is actually made up of multiple courses. We have a cybersecurity pathway that is taught through Great Falls College, MSU. And the welding cohort would be the same, multiple courses, also taught at Great Falls College, MSU. The rest of these are typically a single course offered in our buildings by our teachers, but granted credit through one of the state agencies that we've partnered with. The majority being Great Falls College, MSU, but not limited to. It includes Highlands out of Butte, as well as, oh my gosh, let's see if I can remember them all. I think we have some out of, is it Dawson? I'm going to look at you. She nods. Yeah. And then the college, University of Providence. I'm dating myself. I was going to give them the wrong name. So we have a wide variety, but the majority are from Great Falls College, MSU. Next slide. So one of the things that I think is important for you to know is just how many people are enrolled, and is this really a necessary part of our day? In 2019, you see our numbers were at 789, and it dipped the next year in 2020. Some of that is going to be the fact that, we had a little bit of a shakeup. But if you look at 21, 22, that big spike, as we responded to COVID and what our students needed to catch back up, there were a lot more opportunities that were dual credit to help them in getting through parts of those. We've kind of nestled back into kind of a normal trend in the last 2 years, but I would say dual credit is not going away. It's one of the opportunities that provide our students that opportunity to dip their toe in the pond, find out if they like an area or if they hate it. Maybe they always thought they were going to go to med school and they took EMT or CNA and decided that they can't stand the sight of blood and don't want to be patching up wounds. It's a good experience to learn that this isn't what I want. And they may have done that through the 1-2 free program, or they may have paid partial tuition. Either way, it wasn't the same as diving into a full college program to find out that they weren't interested. So our numbers are pretty good, and I would hope that we would continue. It is based on that agreement with the college as well as our teachers that are willing to teach those. The National Student Clearinghouse provides a lot of data, and we used to get a source through the state, and things have kind of changed. Darn that COVID thing again. But here's some of the data that I pulled that I thought was really interesting. For those students that took a dual enrollment class, 70.4 enrolled in college the fall immediately after graduation. 74.2% enrolled at some point within a year of graduation. And of those students, 85.4 returned for a second year. We know that college isn't for every student, but those that have the opportunity to try dual credit also get the opportunity to find out if this is their pathway or not. And we see that it helps many of them choose that pathway. One of the other things is 73% of them have completed 8 or more semesters of math. Okay, this data is going all the way back to 2022, because obviously they can't do 8 semesters since graduation last year. So it's collecting data over a long time. That includes time that they did in their dual enrollment, or at least that's the assumption I made based on the time and the amount of semesters they have completed. I can't do a lot of comparison because some of this data was only began being collected in the last couple years. Advanced placement. One of the things, I should probably go back, dual credit is super popular at Great Falls High. Advanced placement is super popular at CMR. Both schools offer both, and in the end, the number of students enrolled in AP and dual credit is equal. Whether I take a class for dual credit or AP as a student is really dependent on a few factors. One, am I going to stay in state? Am I going to go out of state? Does the school I'm taking accept Great Falls College MSU credits or University of Providence or Highlands? Do they require a 5 on the AP test versus a 3? And all of those are decisions made by families as they discuss what is a better option. So in our advanced placement courses or AP courses, they need to definitely have a 3 or higher. Some schools require a 4, some even higher than that. Currently, our tests are $110. That covers the cost of the test from AP, as well as paying the proctors that help administer those, and the space that we have to rent to have those. A lot of kids that take an AP course do not take the exam. It's not a requirement. We do not in our district require that if you're registered for an AP course or signed up for an AP course that you take the AP test. Many schools in the nation do. So I like that we give our students that option. Currently, 11 of our AP courses are also offered for dual enrollment, so students get the option of which one they want to do. And the foundation, thank you, helps defray the cost for many of our students. So there are scholarships available to help them with the costs of those. And students get to choose. Do you want to take 1, 2, 5, 6, was our biggest one last year, tests over the course of the testing period. And tests happen in the month of May. So for the 3 weeks of May, and sometimes a little bit longer, our students are testing through all of those AP exams. Last year or 2 years ago, we had 16 exams that were awarded $1,600 from the foundation. We've obviously raised our rates a little bit. And currently, I believe that I have 10 applications on my counter um, to turn into the foundation when the time comes. So it is still part of that process. One of the things that I just wanted to share was how many are actually taking the exam versus not. We know through research that taking the AP class helps a student with rigor and all of that stress and strategies and learning styles that go along with an AP course. Whether they go into a career field, the military, an apprenticeship, or college, it all pays off. If a student gets a 1 on exam, they still learn something, even though they don't get to count it for credit. Getting a 4 is really fun and very exciting, but it isn't what measures if they've gained something from the course. So you can see our enrollments. Like I said, Great Falls High has a lower enrollment than CMR, but in the end, they probably had more dual, so they pretty much are a wash. And so 603 were enrolled last year, but only the 243 took the exams. AP scores for last year, they get these scores in July. Um, it is a standardized test. This is the math geek in me loves this slide because it shows you that it truly is a standardized test. It gives you the bell curve. And that tells us that it does have that curve of being standardized. What I really like about it is that there's 11 that got 1s. It happens. But we had 32 that got 5s. Great Falls High's average this year was 3.6 and CMR's was 3.31, so pretty close. Besides getting their score sent onto their school, their colleges also are notified about their level of achievement. So this year, we had 19 AP scholars, 5 AP scholars with honors, and 10 AP scholars with distinction. And I think that's the best part to celebrate. Questions? Not even close to 30 minutes.
Good work. Are there any questions for Mrs. Frisbee? Yes, Trustee Thompson.
More of a comment than anything. Having 2 young adults that went through the Great Falls Public School system, I've been able to watch those students that have taken AP and dual credit, and I guess I'm just amazed at, you used to just think, oh, well, you're going to take it for free and then you won't have to pay for it later. But it's even more than that, because I can't believe how many of my daughter's friends and classmates have graduated a year or half of a year quicker in college. Just this past week, there was another one that I saw that graduated, a semester early, and that saves a ton of money. Um, and then even my daughters both are doing 4 years, but my oldest daughter changed her major and she was still able to graduate in 4, even though um, she had to do some juggling. But because she had those extra credits going in, she didn't have to take any extra time. And my youngest daughter is going to graduate with, I think it's going to be a double degree, 3 minors, and a certificate. And she wouldn't have been able to do all that, to fit all of it in, had she not gone into college with some extra credits. So I just can't say enough for how awesome the program is. Oh, and you see all of the Great Falls College is always bragging about their students that they have with that come in with the dual credits, especially through welding, but other programs too. And it's just, there's so many different methods and ways that we can launch these students into into careers, and I just thank you for all of the work that you guys do to help them along.
One of the things I didn't mention, but would be nice to add to this, is cybersecurity and the welding. They, if they go through the pathway, welding is 1 year, cyber, if they do 2, they can actually have that first certificate as they walk out the door on graduation day from us. So they can actually work towards the beginnings of those. If they continue, and we've had one of our initial students from cybersecurity early graded, went into the program, and she's on track to get her associates at the end of this year.
Very good. Any additional questions for Mrs. Frisbee? A very illuminating presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Reports, discussion, and policies. C, federal minimum wage increase effective January 1, 2025. Mr. Deacons.
All right, Chairman Johnson, members of the board, Superintendent Hoyer, this is just a quick report to let you know there is a minimum wage increase again this year. It will be moving from $10.30 up to $10.55 as of January 1st. Great Falls Public Schools, we have about 90 people or 90 positions that would qualify as minimum wage. I would say over time, the number of hours that we have people working is decreasing in these positions. And I think that shows we're trying to take those individuals who are sub-aid, sub-food service, we're trying to put them into a full-time position or more of a solid position for themselves. As a result of this, those 90 individuals, that will change about $2,600 in our budget that accrues due to the minimum wage increase that is very minimal. So with that, do you have any questions or comments for me?
Any questions for Mr. Deacons? Thank you very much. Item D, first reading in new and revised board policies. Mrs. Hoyer. questions for Superintendent Hoyer on these policies? Thank you very much. That moves us into reports, discussion, and policies. Item E, discussion, committee reports, and comments. Mr. Finicum, please kick us off.
I'd love to. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Three things I just wanted to really point out. The audit, although that really would seem to be very boring and mundane, is actually a quite good thing. It keeps us all honest and it keeps us on the same page. So, Brian and team, bravo. Other Brian left. Purple Star, I just am such a proponent of that whole program, and I'm just so glad and pleased to see Great Falls Schools doing such a good job. Finally, just the student reports. Gosh, I just love those things. They're just awesome. I get a kick out of the bison harvests. And
Yeah.
again, if anybody in the room has never been on one of those, figure out a way to get on one of those.
Absolutely.
Things. They're great.
Yep, thank you. I'm going to reserve you for last. Trustee Tarosky.
Not too much. Like Superintendent Hoyer mentioned, I got to do one of the legislative walkthroughs over at the core school, and I think that Representative Miner and his wife, they had a lot of really good things to say about our district, about our schools, and they had a lot of good questions, and so they seemed really interested and impressed, and it was a good time, and I got to see a lot, which was really cool, and I appreciate their interest in our district, and then Dusty Molyneux really does a good job with our programs through Christmas. My boys had their Christmas program this morning, and he stopped by for a little bit, and everyone just does so good, and it was really cool to see. And then I really liked.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Maybe they would appreciate being able to hear. But just we have a really great district.
We do indeed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Bronson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just going to echo some of the comments I think that have been made earlier about our young people, but there were a couple of examples just recently I saw where the outreach they're making or that they're being afforded the opportunity to do in our communities is pretty great as well. My wife took in the pop-up store that they had during the Christmas stroll, and it was fun to see all of the young people involved, whether it was art or whether in the one case selling dog biscuits, which by the way my dog really much appreciated. He likes pumpkin. Uh, that really says a lot, and it gets them out there, and it allows people in our community to see them. But another good example last night, Mr. Olson over at CMR does a Christmas program at the Belt Theater every year, which my wife take in. And last night when he did the presentation, some of the musicians that he had were from his class at CM Russell High School, and he made a point of calling them out and highlighting them for the audience. And while I know it was difficult for the young people to perform with some of the more professionals that Steve has, tell you what, you do a Christmas program for a bunch of old people. They don't care. They just love it. And it was very much appreciated. And I know the community of Belt and all of the folks from Great Falls that go to that program very much appreciate it as well. We also were able to take in the Pirates of Penzance. That was a great performance. And I really applaud both of the high schools this year for reaching back and doing traditional musicals. Not only do I think the students enjoy them, but it really brings out a lot of people in the community who like to see some of the older programs, which again betrays how old some of us are, but so what? We don't care. Old people are cranky and we get our own way. We say what we want to say. And then lastly, along with what Trustee Tarosky mentioned, I had the privilege of taking Representative-elect Weber through both Paris Gibson and Great Falls High. Young Connor was one of the young people that Principal Jakes had present, and that was one of the interesting things. In the high school environment, the principals made sure that some of the students were part of the effort going around, meeting with the legislators. And I have to tell you, Connor and his colleague at Paris were incredibly impressive young people. They also speak their mind, too, which I actually appreciate. I think they were a little concerned
when we're asking him some difficult questions, but I know Representative-elect Weber and I both appreciated them sharing their thoughts, and particularly why they thought Paris Gibson was an appropriate place. I don't think I'm out of turn in sharing something that Principal Jakes told me. Probably upwards of 80% of the young people now who are enrolled at Paris are there because of issues involving anxiety and personal issues that they are struggling with. And they need an environment a little bit different than the traditional high school. And as you saw tonight with young Connor, he's obviously thriving there. He has much more confidence in himself. He has much more ability to express himself now. Whether he knows it or not, he and his buddy are going to go far in this world. And I attribute that to the fact that we allow institutions like Paris to exist and thrive. And so I just hope more of our legislative delegation gets a chance to see that and all the other wonderful schools that we have. So thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Sunchild.
Friday night. I can't even tell you, that was the best thing I've ever seen. I walked into the old gym to that basketball game and was greeted by our superintendent selling popcorn in in the costume of the 50s, and right on our heels was Lance Boyd, and that is the absolute best community thing you could ever do. I
Wow.
love it. I told everybody I knew, I'm like, I want to know how many superintendents and executive directors would give up their time and support that activity. That is absolutely amazing. I was so proud to be a part of this district that night, and they had a it was fantastic, fantastic. And it was a competition. Everything with Lance is a competition. I know this. I know this. And he won, but I'm not quite sure if the playing field was fair because I think you had a couple football players. Oh, so there were three of you to the one.
Uh, oh.
Things were a quarter. The drill team performed with poodle skirts at halftime. The coaching staff was dressed up like the 50s. The halftime or the band. It was
Cool.
it was fantastic. Thank you guys for. I mean, really, truly putting that out into the community and to the girls was that was great. Appreciate it.
Great story. Thank you. Yeah. Wow.
Pictures? Yeah. Are there?
Yeah,
there's a bunch out there. Really? Oh. That's great.
Well, I wanted to reserve the final commentary to Trustee Thompson because it's not every day that one celebrates a birthday that has a zero at the end, right? Not going to disclose any more because I really don't know anymore.
Is it true?
Unless you want, I don't know. Maybe she'll tell us. Anyway, it's your turn.
I thought I was leaving the country so that I didn't have to celebrate it, but thanks very much. Well, first off, I want to thank my fellow trustees who were able to do the tours with the legislatures. I was not able to help, but thank you very much for doing that. That's awesome. And then I need to echo. I know everybody has said it, but Connor's poem made me cry, and I think that's awesome. I hope that I'm very glad that Principal Jakes made him read that poem because it's definitely something that tugged at all of our heartstrings. And then I just want to say kudos again for the numbers that you're giving us. I love being able to have some tangible data to go along with how many of our students are involved in our extracurricular activities because it really does put a spotlight on how important they are, and it just really helps for us to be putting well-rounded students out into the workforce. So thank you very much for all of that. And I am really sad that I missed Friday. It was great.
Well, we wish you all the best. Bon voyage on what's going to be a remarkable journey on your part with your family. Yeah, it'll be fantastic. And looking up at the board, my goodness, our next meet January, which causes me to say to everybody in the room, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Thank you for all your good work and for everything that you do for our district. With that being said, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We are adjourned. Thank you.